welcome to the Sanctuary, a safe space to speak from the heart. I'm your host, Israel, and my guest today is Gabrielle Drolet, super talented artist, and creates some really cool graphics. I saw the penguin. Was it a penguin? I keep calling penguin. It's a seagull.
A seagull, yeah.
For the coast, I've seen your work for some time now, but I
Mhm.
don't know what it was about the seagull that made me decide to reach out and say, let's do this.
It's a fun
What was your
seagull.
idea for the seagull, and like, why did you think that represented the best of Halifax? Like, that was what they used for the best of Halifax call.
Yeah, it's a good question. My boss said, "Hey, we're doing Best of Halifax," which of course the coast does every year. It's like a big thing for the coast, and
Hmm.
we want something that represents Halifax and what makes Halifax great. And I don't know, I had a bunch of ideas, but what I ended up landing on is I don't know if the full sheet is out, but there's a poster and it's I think 9 seagulls and they all just look very confident. They're the best at being seagulls. And I think there's just something kind of funny about I don't know, Halifax is a city, but it's got that very coastal feel, like you can walk on the
Right,
boardwalk
right.
and there's seagulls and yeah, it just felt kind of fun and I think it's been a pretty heavy year and we're used to seeing very serious images and I thought what about a seagull in sunglasses? Wouldn't that be fun? With no political implications. Nothing. It's just a seagull having a
Right,
good time.
right,
Yeah.
right, right. I'm curious, how did you get the job at the coast?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've been a fan of the coast for a while. I have people I really respect who work there. I've always loved them, and it's always been fun to pick up, a free copy of the coast at a coffee shop or something. So I saw on Twitter, I think, that they were hiring a summer student. So it's just a summer position, and it was a reporting job. And I thought that would be fun, and I think I would be good at that. I've only ever in the past freelanced when it comes to reporting. So yeah, I reached out and I said, I really want to be part of a newsroom, which is true. Freelancing is kind of isolating. So I applied, I wrote a cover letter, and it just worked out from there. And when I applied, they asked, would you be up to draw some things sometimes as well? And I said, sure. And so it's been really fun. It's been a mix of drawing and reporting and writing. And yeah, I saw it on Twitter. So that's how that happened.
And the drawing thing, how did that start for you?
Yeah, just in general or at the coast?
No, just in general.
Yeah, I really liked to draw as a kid. I was one of those kids who was always doodling in class and stuff, but then I never really pursued it. Like in high school, I didn't take any art classes. In undergrad, I didn't take any art classes. And then, I don't know, a few years ago, halfway through undergrad, I thought it would be nice to have a skill other than writing because just writing wasn't really enough. I was having a hard time making as much money as I wanted to and living on that. So I thought, what if I got back into drawing? And it was just that, right? It was a matter of really concentrating for a while on getting my skills up to where I wanted them to be. And I'm still improving, obviously, because it was such a long period where I did nothing. So I'm still learning. But yeah, I just got back into it. And then I started pitching and submitting things with drawings in them. And it worked out, especially in the past year. I've been doing it professionally.
Mm. And then, like, I mean, you could draw pretty much anything, but like, why did you go the illustration route?
hmm I think it's just what I had the most experience in because, again, I hadn't drawn since I was a kid, right? So when it comes to graphic design or really
Hmm.
bold, like modern illustrations and images, I don't have any experience or training in that. And I think people have a bad habit sometimes of looking at a creative thing and being like, that looks easy. I could do that. But I recognize I don't know anything about graphic design, right? It would be
I don't think yeah, yeah, I think personally, like, I've never looked at, especially when it comes to drawing, like drawing, painting, all that type of stuff, animation. Like, it's the most difficult to me when it
yeah.
comes to creating stuff. I think it's the most difficult. I really think it is for me personally.
hmm
So, like, people that draw, I'm really super envious of them because they make really cool stuff, like yourself.
For sure. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. But yeah, I just mean, I don't think there was another route for me in the visual arts because I only had some sort of background at all in illustration. And I think you can teach yourself illustration better than you can teach yourself typography or graphic design. Like you can do that, but it was just so far out of my realm of understanding, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And you say you didn't study at all. What did you study in school?
I did my undergrad in creative writing and English. I did the first year at
Mm.
Dalhousie, and then I transferred to Western. And I'm now in graduate school for creative writing as well.
Why creative writing?
I don't know. I think when I was finishing high school, I just didn't really know what I wanted to do. And it was one of those things where I thought, English is fun, I'll go into that. And then, yeah, when I was in university, I realized there were also creative writing classes. And I am not very good at academia in the sense that, I can get by, I did well in school, but I really struggle with writing an academic essay or participating in academia in a strict or rigid way. So creative writing kind of felt like a
Mm.
loophole, right? It was like, oh, I can be in school and also just kind of do fun things that I enjoy. Yeah, and from there,
Mhm.
I got really lucky. It worked out well for me, but yeah, I just didn't like anything else, I think.
And you put some comedy in some of your
Mm-hmm.
work. Are you just like, is comedy something you love? Because one of the images that stands out for me on on your Instagram is, so there's crows flying, which a collection of crows is a mother
Mm-hmm.
of crows, and then there's this detective, like a detective of crows and a mother of crows. That one cracks me up. Like, is that something you think? I mean, I guess when you're working, you have to kind of plan what you want to draw, but is comedy something you pull on when you're working on your art?
Yeah, I that's one of my favorite cartoons as well that I've done. I'm glad I'm glad that you liked that one because I loved it. I It cracked me up while I was making it. Yeah, I
It
really
cracks me up.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, I think comedy is really interesting, especially because, I do journalism and journalism can be a little exhausting. It's a lot, but I've always been someone
Hmm.
who really gravitates towards comedy, both written and visual. And so, yeah, I think when I was first starting to freelance, I was throwing everything at the wall to see what stuck. And comedy was not sticking for me. I submitted, I don't know if you know
Mm.
McSweeney's, but it's like a humor website and magazine. I've submitted to them probably over 100 times in the span of a year, and nothing, they didn't want anything.
Mm.
And I just kept
Mm.
trying because I was like, why not? And it's worked out for me. But I think there's something very fun about having a joke in an illustration or having a joke kind of sewn into a piece somewhere. I like that.
Yeah, what things inspire you when it comes to
Mm,
your art?
yeah. Other artists for sure. I really like Instagram in that it's easy to find other people who make art and feel inspired by them and other cartoonists as well. I'm trying to think of people I really like. Zoe C is a cartoonist in Vancouver, and she does, I think, weekly stuff for the New Yorker. And her cartoons are just so funny and simple. Drew Shannon is someone I really like as well. I like comic books and graphic novels, so looking at those things kind of inspire how I draw and how I do things. But yeah, I think just a lot of reading and looking at
What
art.
graphic novels come to mind when you mention that?
Sure. I really like Jillian and Mariko Tamaki, who are both Canadian. They're cousins and they do stuff together. Boundless is one of my
Oh.
favorite. It's like a collection of short graphic stories, and that's really great. Um, Snot Girl is a series I really like by Brian Lee O'Malley, who lived in Halifax for a time, actually. He's the guy who did Scott
Mm.
Pilgrim, and I really like most of his stuff as well.
Mm. Is that something you're ever gonna make?
I don't know. People ask me that a lot. I think especially because I'm in creative writing and I draw, and so people are like, "Why don't you meld those two?" I think I'm not good enough yet. And whenever I say that, I'm not trying to be humble, but what I mean is, no, no, no.
Mm.
But you hear me out. Hear me out. What I mean is that because I got back into drawing recently, and I'm still getting used to the fundamentals, I think I would be very slow at making a graphic novel. There's so many panels and drawings, right? And I can do an illustration, but it still takes me a while to figure out what do hands look like? What does something look like at this angle? And I think to do a project as big as a graphic novel with so many drawings, you have to be able to go in there
Mm,
and whip sketches out. And I can't do that just yet. So I'm not trying to be humble, but I genuinely do think maybe in a few years I would love to do that. Right now, that would be too
mm-hmm.
too time consuming. I'm just not there yet.
Um, and like when you make your art, do you like use your iPad or
Yeah,
what's it? Procreate? Is that what it's called?
yeah,
Procreate,
Procreate.
right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I use. I like drawing. I'll do often. I'll sketch with pencil, take a picture of it, and then do the final in Procreate. I think I don't know. I do like pencil and pen and the way they look, but Procreate is crisper. Doing something digitally is crisper, and it's easier to share without having to scan it. So yeah, I use Procreate.
Mm.
Mhm.
And did you always use like did you use because you say you kind of go back into drawing now? Did you just get back into drawing when Procreate came out, or did you start with pencil before you went to Procreate?
Um, when I was a kid, there was no. I mean, I'm sure that there was digital technology. When I was a kid, I was just doing pen and marker and pencil, and in high school as well. That was it. When I got back into
Mm,
drawing in my undergrad, so about 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I started
mm-hmm,
out drawing with pen and pencil, and then it just, I don't know, it was really adding up. Like the cost of buying good drawing equipment, especially once I started doing it professionally, I was like, this doesn't really make sense when, if you get Procreate or a digital program, you have access to every color, you have access to every texture. So it just, yeah, I had started doing not digital. And then once it was professional, I was like, oh, it's digital makes more sense. It's also easier to fix mistakes. It's quicker, much quicker.
mm,
Hmm.
mm,
Yes.
mm. And then one of the things that also pulled me to asking you for this conversation was that you contribute to the New Yorker, and I'm like, that's not a small feat to achieve. How did
Hmm.
that happen?
Yeah, I ask myself that all the time as well. It feels surreal. Yeah, it happened with a lot of perseverance. I think there's this rhetoric that to get into the New Yorker, you have to have an agent or a connection. People always think that, and I think it's fair for people to think that because it's such a big institution that for so long I was submitting to them and no one was answering. Right, like you don't get an answer. If you do, it's 3 months later, and it's tough. But yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think I got in there by just continuing to submit. Every time I did get a rejection email, it felt kind of good because it was like, oh, at least someone is answering. Like someone has seen this, and
Mm,
the more I submitted, the more personalized those rejections got, where I was like, hey, Gabrielle, I really liked this joke, but this didn't land. And so I was able to get better because I was like, okay, I know what they don't like. So yeah, it was just a matter of
mm-hmm.
continuing to try. Eventually, something got in, and yeah, I'm really lucky that that happened and that they took a chance on me because I I really didn't expect them to. It was I enjoy drawing and doing my cartoons and stuff, so I would have done it anyways, I think.
Mm. Was that the same with the New York Times?
Yeah, actually. So with that, with journalism, I did my undergrad in writing, as I said, and during that time, I was a student journalist. Right, I was working at the Western Gazette, and in my last year of undergrad, I started freelancing as well. And freelancing is weird because it's like you have to. It's not like illustrating where you can be like, look, I've already done this thing and it's good, like submitting an illustration. You have to pitch yourself. You're like, this is my story, and I'm good to write it for this reason. And so when I started that, it was really difficult because I didn't have something to point to. Right? I could say I'm a good journalist, but I wasn't able to say read my previous work here. So what happened there is that, sorry, that was a long-winded way of getting here. But what happened,
No, that's
okay,
great.
awesome, awesome. So I slowly started getting publications under my belt, right? I did a few things for the Toronto Star, and then I did a few things for other places, Vice, Globe and Mail. And last year there was a particular story that no one was writing about, and I thought seemed important. And I pitched it to a bunch of places, and no one answered. And finally, I was like, why don't I just try the New York Times, which felt deranged almost because I was like, who am I to pitch to them? But no one else was accepting. And I thought, what do I have to lose? And I pitched, and I happened to land the piece, and it was really, really special. Yeah, I feel so, so fortunate that that happened the way it did.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've done stuff for the New York Times, you have this job at the Coast.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feel ready for a graphic novel yet,
No.
but what are some future plans you have?
Yeah, for sure. I want to finish my degree, um, which should be this upcoming next August. I'll be done. And the way a creative writing master's works, or an MFA, is that you end with a publishable product, so a book of some sort. So I'm working on that,
Mhm.
which is exciting. And I have carpal tunnel, which I think we spoke about it briefly last time, but I have carpal tunnel,
Mm.
and that's really hindering my ability to produce work and to submit work. So right now, my plan.
How are you, before you
Yeah,
continue,
no, of
sorry,
course.
how are you managing with that and doing work daily, at least for your full-time job?
Yeah, I'm managing better than I was when it first got really bad. I wasn't dealing with it well, like either mentally or physically. I was pushing myself to do more stuff because I don't know. I think I was so conditioned that I should be submitting stuff all the time, and I was hurting myself. Yeah, it
Mhm.
felt bad, but at this point, I take it very easy. So obviously, I have this full time job. I need to, write my articles, do my things, but I take breaks often. I use voice to text, which is very bizarre. It's really different than typing, but I orate all of my articles to my computer. I've got my fancy ergonomic mouse. I have a really, healthy setup, and I take breaks. And I think I'm kinder with myself in that if I have a day where I'm not very productive or a weekend day where I don't do anything at all, it's fine. But before I was someone who was
Was that
always doing
transition
something.
difficult for you?
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
Was
it
that
was.
transition difficult for you?
Yeah, it's still difficult for me. Yeah, I'm
Mm.
supposed to have the surgery this upcoming year, hopefully in late 2021 or early 2022. And it's been bad, my carpal tunnel, since March, I think. Yeah. So it's been a while of not being able to produce work. And sometimes it's still really hard. I think, especially because I'm in an industry where, I'm lucky to have a full time job, but with freelancing, it kind of feels like you constantly have to be doing stuff, which is a problem in the industry. But it's like you have to be pitching and submitting all the time in the hopes that something lands, and you have to be doing this and that. And I enjoy what I do,
Mm.
but I think I was so used to overworking myself that suddenly not being able to work at all, it was really difficult. And sometimes it still is. Like I'll have an idea for a cartoon or an article or a piece that I'm not physically able to execute, and that really, it
Mm.
sucks. It's shitty. Yeah, but I think it's been a matter of really learning to slow down, which I think is a valuable lesson in the grand scheme of things. I'm sure a few years from now I'll look back and feel grateful, but yeah, there are still times where it really, it sucks. It's shitty.
When those times come, how do you handle it?
Um, I think I just have to kind of take a step back, right? Because I think it
Mm.
feels for me like I'm young, and my career really just started or took off in the past year and a half or so, right? So this was for me supposed to be the first summer ever where I'm not working a customer service job. I'm full time writing and drawing. And so, yeah, there are moments where it feels really like, holy shit, my life was headed in the right direction for the first time. I wasn't, I was
Mhm.
able to sustain myself. And this has happened at the worst time. And it sucks. But I think if I take a step back,
Mm.
I'm able to be like, okay, hold on. Actually, this is probably the best time for this to happen, right? It is a little, it does suck. but it would have been worse if I was a little later in life and had a million
Mm,
projects on the go and things that I had to do and people who I owed things to. Whereas now it's like it's shitty because I want to prove myself and I'm at a point where I
mm,
want to do everything, but there's time for that later. Yeah, I think, and especially with the pandemic, people are so much kinder and so much more understanding about having to take more time for yourself. So I think, yeah, when that
yeah.
happens, I just need to take a step back and I'll cry to my girlfriend. I'll be like, "My life is falling apart. Everything's ruined." And she's like, "No, that's ridiculous. That's not true." And so yeah, I just close the laptop and step away.
um, you mentioned the pandemic. What are some of the things that changed in your life, in your lifestyle also?
Hmm. It changed a lot. Well, I think it's weird for me because the pandemic started at a very transitional period already. So I was in my graduating year of my undergrad when the pandemic started. So it's hard to pinpoint like
Mm-hmm,
here are all the things that changed because my life already was changing right at the beginning. So I moved from Ontario to Wolfville, and that wasn't supposed to happen. I was supposed to go to school in Toronto, and then my girlfriend was going to school out here. My school was online. I was like, why don't I just go to Wolfville? Yeah, it's so my life changed immeasurably for sure. But I think the pandemic
mm-hmm,
made me, I don't know, spend more time with myself in both good and bad ways. There are ways in which it's been kind of nice to be able to not do anything and to be able to, I don't know, reevaluate my priorities, what I like, what I don't. It allowed me to get a cat, which is great. But yeah, there are definitely times as well where I think so much time spent at home by myself is not good, you know. So it's been a balance, but yeah, I've been able to do more things with myself, spend more time going on walks. Yeah, I can't complain. I mean, I can, but I just mean, you know,
mm.
I'm getting by for sure.
It's great talking to you,
Mm.
and I'm always learning a lot of things. But I'm gonna let you go with this question. Something that's come up a couple of times I talked to you, and it has a couple of times today, is that you have this, I don't know, resilience or just stubbornness to like, I'm just gonna keep submitting, and then you keep hearing no, 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 but you keep submitting. What keeps you going when you're not sure you're gonna get a positive reply? You
Mm.
just put it out there anyway.
Yeah, I think, well, I will say that's been harder since I've been injured because it's harder to justify doing work and not knowing if you'll get paid for it when it hurts to do that work. But I think in the beginning, it was
Hmm.
just, I was really scared. Yeah, my only education was in English and writing. And, you know, I'm grateful to have that education, but that's not a degree that lands you jobs easily, right? And I knew I wanted to be
Mm.
doing something creative, but I had no idea what that looked like. And I think, yeah, what kept me going and kept me motivated was I was like, well, I need to do something. You know, I can't give up if I get a no because I need to become a writer. I need to become an illustrator. I need to have some sort of income beyond. You know, I worked again customer service jobs my whole high school years and undergrad. Every summer I had some sort of like Tim Hortons or barista or whatever job. And those jobs can be really, they're difficult, right? I'm not someone who fares very well in that sort of position. So yeah, I think it was a compulsive need. I was like, I literally don't know what I'm going to do, but I need to do something to feel like I can actually be a creative person and get paid for it. So yeah, that was it. But
Mm.
it's hard. All of those no's are hard, and it's still hard. You know, still sometimes I'll go a few months and everyone says no all of the time, and it feels like crushing. You know, you're like, why aren't I good enough? It's so difficult. But yeah, I think in those early days, it was just like if I give up now, I don't know what else I'm going to do. So that was it.
Mm. Wow.
Hmm.
Man, Gabriel, I hope, the carpal tunnel, the surgery helps with that when that
Thank you.
happens. And I can't wait to see what next you're going to put in the coast. I'm really grateful for the time you've given me. And it'll be great to actually have you chat. Cause like I have so many questions about this New Yorker thing, but I'm like, okay,
Sure.
don't ask too much now.
Hmm. Of
So
course,
it'll
of
be great to
course.
have you back.
Hmm.
Thank you so much, Gabriel.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.